Hello, this is Dr. Dave Maslach talking about reciprocity.com, the sharing economy proofreading platform that I'm trying to build. The E is spelled with a 3, and today I'm going to be talking about the limitations section, what it is, and why I think most people actually write up the wrong things in the limitations sections, and what you can do to actually change this and make sure that you are doing what I think are the right things of doing the limitations section. So this is part of a series I put out every Wednesday about different things in science that I find interesting and things where I could just totally nerd out and tell you some different things I've learned along the way. I'm a professor, assistant professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship at a large state institution in Florida. You could look me up. I'm actually a real person and doing real stuff. And you could also look up and stay tuned for the end of this video. I'm going to talk to you about what I'm doing with reciprocity and how I think it's going to help out science. I hope so, and what it actually is about. So the limitations section is part of a scientific study where it's usually at the end of a scientific study. And what you do, if you think about the scientific method and the scientific sort of research method, what we should be doing is you first read the literature, come up with some sort of theory. From that, you develop some sort of hypothesis of how the world works, and then you go out and test those hypotheses. You get some sort of results from that. From those results, you come up with some new understanding of the world, and then you write the limitations of your scientific study, as well as a discussion of where you think that the study is going to go based on those results section. The limitations section is usually kind of like a side note, or most people treat them as a side note of here are all the different boundary conditions, here are the things of how this study doesn't work, and all the little different things of how the study doesn't work, all the sort of possible assumptions of what I did or what the series of researchers did along the way to actually get to the point where we actually got these results. And now I actually think that this is possibly not the best way to actually go about writing a research or the limitation section. I think that there could be a lot more with the research or the limitations section, in the sense that when you are writing them up, what you should be doing is not thinking about the obvious limitations. Most of those are really painfully obvious. So for example, if it's in one particular research, so you're doing research on something really broad. I do stuff on organizations, so I think of, these organizations are all over the place, and then it's in this one particular setting. I do it on medical devices in the medical device industry. And then I might talk about something specifically about the industry. Well, that is really very narrow. That's kind of obvious from my perspective. And what you should be doing is looking at what is the fundamental thing that's different with that particular setting or that sort of narrow setting, and how that actually applies in a broader sense. So there's lots of regulation, for example, that happens in the medical device industry. It's really innovative. So those particular components might be really fundamentally different in that industry than there are in other industries or other settings. And so you have to use those more specific things and generalize to a much larger extent than just saying, it happens in this one industry, it's not going to apply to everything else. So you have to be more specific and think about the different mechanisms and be more creative when you actually get into the limitation section, because what you're doing is essentially, what you're trying to do is steer the conversation forward. You're thinking about, if I was a researcher and I was picking up this paper and I looked at all these research limitations, I don't want to be bored with what I'm doing. I don't want to be bored with what I'm reading when I'm going through this section. I want to be enlightened of where can I actually take this paper forward? What can I do from this paper? And so you're thinking about what are the sort of clever ways of actually taking this paper and moving it forward beyond just a simple research limitations of these are the sort of things I did along the way, but where can other researchers take this, and what are the creative ways that other people can take this? Because you know what's going to happen? Somebody's going to take that paper and they're going to take it and run with it. They're going to find the assumptions. They're going to dig it up from some obscure journal, wherever you published it. And then they're going to read it and they're going to say, that was really interesting. That was a novel way to think about the world. That limitation is really cool. I'm going to take it, I'm going to test it, I'm going to move it forward, and I'm going to push science that much forward. So if you just say something that's really sort of banal and very obvious, people are not going to get excited about it. They're not going to do much about that particular thing, and that study is going to die right there. What you want to do is get people excited with that study, and then they can go, oh yeah, that's really clever. I never thought about that. I'm going to go see if that actually works. And then they can go and test it and see, and then they're going to end up citing your paper, and you're going to get a few more cites from that because it was really clever. And it does matter where the journal is published, but if it's in an obscure journal and it's something that's creative, somebody might actually pick it up and run with it, and you might get a couple of cites that way, no matter where it is published. So it's important. So this is the thing that most people get wrong with writing a limitation section, is they think it's just a laundry list of all the possible limitations and all the things that are wrong. That's innumerable, right? There's always more threats to validity with any particular study. It is huge. There's so many things that go wrong with any particular study, and it could be very exhausting. What you should be thinking about instead is thinking about where can we take this? What can we do going forward with this particular study? Where can we advance science? In which direction is the most important way to advance science? And use this as a way of thinking about future research directions rather than the simple limitations, right? So you're always thinking in this mind of where can we advance this particular study? Because this is one area that you get a lot of freedom. There is a lot of degrees of freedom what you can write about. In the results section, there's not nearly as much degrees of freedom what you can write about, but in that section you can write a lot and steer the conversation forward. So that's all I wanted to say about the research limitations, but I wanted to talk to you. I did mention at the beginning of the video, I wanted to talk to you about what is reciprocity and why it's going to help scientists. What I'm trying to do is create kind of like a peer proofreading platform where you can go on and you can get free proofreading if you want, but there's also the option to pay along the way. So if you need to get it faster and all different other options and stuff like that, you can pay for those options. But the reason why I'm doing this is I wanted to create a platform. So I'm an assistant professor, and I can see a real demand for helping out PhD students and graduate students with something like this, having the ability to sort of shuffle papers back and forth. I wanted a sort of revenue source so that I can push research in this direction a little bit more, that I can actually give some scholarships and things like that. Provide a source of revenue such that I can be more helpful to other scientists out there, particularly in the social sciences and behavioral sciences, because I think there's really interesting things. And then C, right? Well, that's weird. 3 and C. So, and C, it just makes sure that there is a platform that I can do some really cool things. Right now that there's kind of a revolution going on in the computing industry or the programming industry, in the software industry. And what they're doing is doing A/B testing, where you can do a bunch of experimentation. It's actually is what it is. And you're providing people with different versions of the same website. And this happens hundreds of thousands of times a day. It happens to a lot of people. It happens to anybody that goes on the internet right now. It is happening to them right now. But here's the thing, a lot of researchers are not taking advantage of this. I'm hopefully going to take advantage of this and do some sort of experimentation on it. I've already run one small set of experiments, and I did get some really cool, interesting results. And I'm going to keep continuing to do this and use a platform to do some really cool stuff. So those are the reasons why it's going to help out scientists, and specifically probably for you. I'm going to hopefully use some of the money to actually create scholarships and stuff like that, so I can help out more and more people. And that's where it's going to help out other scientists in this area. And I think it's going to be much more broader. I'm hoping to give back as much as I can with this and provide sort of support to as many people as I can with this. That's why I'm really excited about it. So that's all I have to say. I just wanted to thank you so much for listening to this video all the way to the end. You're truly amazing. Those of you who have subscribed to this YouTube channel, you're so cool. Love everybody that listens to this. I know that I'm probably not the most attractive person out there to listen to or watch, but that there are some enough crazy people out there that would pay attention to this. I just thought I'd start doing some of these videos and putting them out there. And I'm just grateful that you are around and paying attention to it. I really, truly appreciate the support. And that's it. That's all I want to say. Have a good day. Take care. I'm going to see you on the next video. Bye.